Welcome to Indu's International Kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make chicken biryani. Here I have 3 cups of rice. This is Basmati rice that I have washed thoroughly and then drain it, and the wet rice, I'm just going to let it sit for about 15 minutes or so. And now I'm going to marinate the chicken pieces. So here I have about 2 pounds, that's about roughly 1 kilogram of chicken pieces, and I would recommend throw in a couple drumstick pieces or so, just so that you get some additional flavor in there. But if you don't want any bone pieces, then it's fine to use boneless as well. So to this chicken, which I have obviously cleaned and washed in advance, then you start adding all the spices. So here I have 1 teaspoon of salt. Then I have about half a teaspoon of red chili powder and 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric powder. Next here I have a 1 tablespoon of coriander powder. And then I have 1 teaspoon of garam masala and 1 teaspoon of biryani masala. Now if you don't have biryani masala, you could just use a little more garam masala. And the other 2 ingredients I have for the marinade are 1 tablespoon of yogurt, and 1 teaspoon of lime juice. So once I add all these things, just using your hands, mix the chicken pieces well with all the spices and the yogurt and the lime juice. And what we need to do is then let the chicken pieces sit in this marinade for about 30 minutes to about 2 hours. So I'm going to set this aside back in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. So here are the 3 cups of rice. To that I'm going to add some whole spices. So I have here about 4 cardamom, that's a green cardamom, and then I have about 6 to 8 pieces of clove, 6 to 8 whole peppercorns, about 3 pieces of black cardamom, and then I have about 3 small pieces of cinnamon stick. Then I have about 2-3 small pieces of bay leaves, and I have 1 teaspoon of cumin seeds. And lastly, I'm also going to add about 1 teaspoon of salt. And since I have 3 cups of rice here, I'm going to use about 4.5 cups of water, which I have pre-measured here. I'm going to add that to the rice. So I'm just going to place this in the rice cooker and cook. Okay, so the rice is cooked now. Once it is cooked, just take it out immediately and put it in a larger tray so that it cools off. Alright, so now we are going to make the chicken, and I'm going to grind a masala using cilantro. So I have about half a cup or so of cilantro leaves. Then I have about 1 inch by ½ inch piece of ginger. So I'm going to add that into the food processor as well. And then I have about 6 to 8 garlic cloves. So I'm going to add that. Then I have about 8 to 10 pieces of cashew nuts. And finally, I have about ½ a cup of freshly grated coconut. I have here fresh frozen grated coconut that I have thawed in advance to room temperature. So I'm going to add this as well. Now coconut could be optional in this dish. I'm going to grind this in a food processor using about ½ a cup of warm water. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil or any other cooking oil that you want to use. Once it gets hot, then we are going to fry the onions in it. And here I have about 2 medium-sized onions, thinly sliced, and I have about 1 cup of chopped tomatoes. That's about 2 medium-sized tomatoes. So first I'm going to saute these onions in the oil until about 3 to 4 minutes, until they turn slightly golden brown. Okay, so here the onions have been browning for about 4 minutes, and now I'm going to add the ground masala, which is the coconut and the cilantro and ginger garlic paste. So I'm going to add that and fry for another 2 minutes or so. Alright, so next, after you fry the paste for about 2 minutes or so, add the tomatoes, the chopped tomatoes, and again continue to saute. Alright, so the tomatoes have been cooking for about 4 minutes or so. Make sure that you stir constantly to avoid any burning of the masala. And then next we are going to add the marinated chicken pieces into this. And stir once the chicken pieces have been coated well with the masala. I'm going to cover it with the lid and cook on medium to low flame for about 15 minutes. Alright, so this has been cooking for about 15 minutes. You needed to stir to make sure that it was not sticking to the bottom. And now I'm going to also add about 1 cup of cubed potatoes, and this is something additional I like to add. You could also fry the potatoes like French fries and add it towards the end, but I kind of like to add it in the gravy so that it gets mixed with all the chicken flavor. And at this point I also recommend checking for seasoning. And usually around this time, once you add the potatoes, it needs a little bit more salt. So I'm going to add about half a teaspoon of salt. And let it cook on low flame for about 10 minutes. Alright, so the potatoes have been cooking for about 10 minutes now. So check to see if they are done or not. And looks like they are done. So next what I'm going to do is just cook it uncovered for another 5 minutes or so, because just let the water evaporate a little bit and let it cook uncovered on low flame for about 5 minutes, but stir in between just to make sure that it's not getting stuck to the bottom. Alright, so this has been cooking on uncovered for about 5 minutes, and as you can see the gravy's become thick. So I'm going to turn the heat off and just let it cool. Alright, so we have the chicken ready here and the rice, and so this is the final step. We are going to mix the chicken and the rice along with another few things and then bake it in the oven for the last 15-20 minutes. So first put a small layer of rice and then add the chicken pieces, few of the chicken pieces with the gravy and the potato also. So you're basically just going to be layering it in, and add a little bit more of the rice. So whenever there are lumps in the rice, use your hands to break them. Okay, and now I'm going to add a couple different things. So here I have in about 1 tablespoon of unsalted butter that I've broken into small tiny pieces. So I'm just going to scatter them here and there. And then here I have 1/4 cup of milk, and I have added a pinch of orange food color to it. So I'm just going to kind of sprinkle that over the rice and the chicken mixture. And here I have 1/4 teaspoon of saffron threads that are mixed in, again, about 1/4 cup of milk. So I'm going to add that as well. So the saffron infused in the milk gives a very nice flavor. Those two things. And so basically this is what you keep doing until you finish the chicken and the rice. Alright, so I finished layering, and I'm just going to add the final pieces of butter, inserted in between the rice. And now this is ready to go into the oven. I'm going to cover it with aluminum foil and bake it at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. Okay, so while the chicken and the rice is in the oven, what you can do is the final garnish. So what I have here is 1 tablespoon of butter, and after the butter gets melted, I'm just going to toast the chopped almonds and cashew nuts in it until they turn golden brown. Alright, so I just got the biryani out of the oven. It has been baking for about 20 minutes at 350 degrees. And finally, we are just going to garnish with the fried cashew nuts in butter, and also sprinkle some cilantro on top. Your biryani is ready.